Mike Bloomberg is, I guess he's not exactly waiting in the wings because he's dumping a massive amount of money. I like debates without Mike Bloomberg because I think, frankly, look, I get the disadvantage, which is that he's dumping hundreds of millions of dollars in every single YouTube ad you get is Mike Bloomberg and there's no scrutiny. However, what scrutiny is Mike Bloomberg going to face in a debate? He's going to be treated, he'll be the next right-wing Democratic candidate that they try to surge at Bernie.
He'll be presented by the moderators as like the normal guy that you should have to like knock off his positions.
Precisely. And then even look at Tom Steyer, who, at the end of the day, the guy is a billionaire from the finance industry. So please don't get sucked into, his sort of gentle personality and social media practices. But Tom Steyer has not exactly been stellar in these debates. I mean, it hasn't been a disaster, but hasn't demonstrated one time why he's running. And the biggest moment he had was when he went over and tried to say hi to Bernie. And most of the times he makes any points that are in any way halfway compelling, you say, great, Tom, so help Bernie. And he's still rising in the polls in specific states purely on the merits of his money. So the extent to which there's these two oligarchs dumping their money in, not facing scrutiny and starting to rise in the polls, that is a function of the problem of capitalism. It's a function of the problem of money in politics, a function of the problem of an unlimited system where oligarchs can buy their way into office. And having him in debates, I think, actually is a legitimizing tactic, which I don't want. I prefer him out here because I don't think these interviews are going to be terribly different than how easy he'll be treated on the debate stage. I'm open to other arguments, but I certainly would not put getting Bloomberg debating him with my energy. But
the whole point of having a party should be the ability to squash things like this.
Exactly. However, I think that Bloomberg, we're going to have to talk more about him because the more this shapes up, it's like, no, like Bloomberg is not going to be president. And if he was nominated against Donald Trump, that would be a catastrophe. I mean, the idea that like, oh, I'm going to the Midwest to talk about how Donald Trump isn't a real billionaire, and I'm going to regulate e-cigs. I don't know what kind of brain miasm you need to be in to think that this is going to do anything.
Yeah, his Super Bowl ad is all about gun safety.
Yeah. Go for
That's
it.
That's the main audience for
definitely the way to lock down.
That's why Hillary didn't beat Trump, is she wasn't into gun safety enough.
Yeah, she wasn't talking about guns enough. But I think Bloomberg is a vehicle of stop Bernie in the Democratic primaries, and he's got unlimited money, which he will spend to try to counter that movement. And along with all of the dirty and unethical plays of the DNC, and along with the hostility and the bias of the corporate media against Sanders and against working people in this country. So it's important to remind everybody of stop and frisk. It's important to remind everybody that Mike Bloomberg turned New York City into a giant filing cabinet of money laundering for people, for every person of wealth in the globe, while making it unlivable for people who work for a living. It's important to remind people that even as Mike Bloomberg now pretends to care about income inequality, which is astonishing, that he, in addition to being a Wall Street booster and a billionaire out of Wall Street, was a Republican during the Bush era who supported George W. Bush twice. So even on that level, opposing proper regulation and being a hoarder of wealth himself wasn't even one of these sort of like billionaires saying like, actually, I'll take a little less. Was there supporting George W. Bush and, of course, supporting the invasion of Iraq and everything else. Then there's the NDA question. Mike Bloomberg has a long track record in business, and you can look up there's reporting on him saying things to, like, as an example, a pregnant woman in the office, kill it. That was a report when he was first running for mayor, I believe. There's also a massive business relationship he has with China, which, again, is not exactly a tailored message for a general election. And then there's just the broader philosophical point about how broad the function of NDAs are and how they impact our democracy. Here's Mike Bloomberg.
At your company and have wonderful things to say. Friends that have worked at your company and have wonderful things to say. But you have been accused in the past of making lewd and sexist comments and fostering a frat-like culture at your company that was uncomfortable for some female employees. ABC's actually spoken to several women who want to share their stories, but you won't release them from their NDAs. As Senator Warren put it, she was here last week. She said, if your company has an enviable record, what do you have to hide? Why not
we don't have anything to hide, but we made legal agreements, which both sides wanted to keep certain things from coming out. They have a right to do that. But remember, just because you signed a non-disclosure doesn't mean you can't talk about other things. You just can't talk about what was in that agreement, where you say perhaps you don't disparage the other party or you don't want to retell the story.
Wait, you don't have to take a vow of silence?
It's like you could say I worked at Bloomberg News, but you can't say that Mike went up to me and went, Rumsky.
Agreement where you say perhaps you don't disparage the other party or you don't want to retell the story, because then whatever it is. But you don't take away anybody's rights to say what they want to say. They can continue to do that. They just made an agreement, and the company made an agreement that we wouldn't discuss a certain thing. And in most cases, settlements typically in an agreement like that would be made. Every company goes through the same thing. And so money changed hands and whatever.
In this Me Too era, though, is there
if you
a
look,
sense...
we have very few, and I think you talk to most women in the company, they would say equal pay, equal promotion, equal opportunity. It's a great place to work. Did I ever tell a bawdy joke? Yeah, sure I did. And do I regret it? Yes, it's embarrassing, but you know, that's the way I grew up.
Bawdy.
Bawdy.
A bawdy.
Bawdy.
A bawdy joke. Oh, who hasn't?
Well, you said that, not me. Thank you. I was fishing for it.
This is that part gets tricky because the last part they're right, and you know, again, this is where it would not be the right way to attack it. But he's going to try to minimize it. But if you go back to the initial reporting around, and there was an ad made when you first ran for mayor of New York City, if I remember correctly, where it was saying to a woman with an abortion, kill it. And it was other things that were not in the realm of joking and whatever, right? It was much more hostile, much more specific. And again, he doesn't have, obviously, you know, the things he thinks that are exculpatory, like everybody signs these things, are maybe pointing to different conclusions.
Every corporation has
Everybody,
to sign
I did, yeah. I asked Gary Cohn once. I said, do you go honk, honk, honk? And he said yes. And that's why we all have NDAs.
The corporate structure is basically a harassment factory.
Yeah. Basically, it's a giant feudal system where you can make any sexual, gender, or racial comment you want.
What do you think the PR department's there for?
I mean, my God, you should see what I said to the Puerto Rican people. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have said that.
Both sides sign the contract, then money changes hands and whatever.
You know, one time it was very funny. There was a young gentleman that worked there, and he got stopped and frisked, and the police compensated the papers we had him sign. I know, I'm making him sound like Jerry Seinfeld. What's the deal with the View bitching about NDAs? I wanted her to kill her baby so we could be more efficient.
It doesn't
Anyways,
mean
Bernie Sanders is going to repulse normal people.
It doesn't mean you can't disclose things like the weather outside. Just don't talk about what we agreed not to talk about.
Let me give you an example, totally hypothetical. What if I said, oh my God, Stacy in accounting has an ass that I would give a tenth of my income to see? And Stacy hears it. And she says she's uncomfortable. And I say, oh my God, Jesus Christ, fine, we'll sign an NDA. And if you talk about it, not only will I sue you, I might kill your family in Kansas. She can't talk about it. But if Stacy and I were to walk in at the same time and I said, boy, Stacy, do you like the coffee at the cafeteria? And she said, yes, Mr. Bloomberg, I do. That would be a story she could share.
Like how you get an extra fast elevator from the PR department.
If I were to say, oh my God, I would drink your daddy's bathwater, you're so freaking fine. That would be covered by the NDA. But if I were to say, did you like your trip to Napa? That you could speak about freely.
Yeah. You have the floor.
You have the floor. No restriction whatsoever.
Tell ABC News all you want about the trip to Nashville.
If you wanted to sit down with ABC News and talk about your trip to Napa and how I pretended to be interested in it, please do. But the part where I said, and I had a few Chablis in me, that I would literally pay you and your sister for babysitter pornography, that part would be covered by the NDA.
Remember the contract.
I wonder what covers this NDA, whoever came up with this ad.
Where's my ice cream? Ah, thank you. Big gay ice cream is the best.
What the hell is happening there?
Money well spent.
I just like how, like, I think Bloomberg came up with this himself, because I like the idea that you're like, just this is the mind of a billionaire, right?
Absolutely.
Like, where is my ice cream? And then literally a faceless person off camera just immediately it is summoned into existence, and then you can thank the brand for it. Like,
Please.
Where's my ice cream? Ah, thank you. Big gay ice cream is the best.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the casualness with which he demands it is just wonderful.
and yeah,
Right?
where
Where
is
is
They
it?
have
it?
no
It should be
idea how
here.
off-putting that is.
And then a human
No.
being just brings it there, but like,
And then it's like, and for him, he's just like, I said thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
What
a
else
normal
Look at
person.
how gracious I am.
What kind of person doesn't thank faceless individuals for handing them their pint? What's
I
the
honestly,
problem?
I do think rich people get off saying thank you in that kind of way. Like, it's the only way that they can bridge the chasm between them and normal people. It's like, oh, thank you, and are you having a good, like, that condescension?
Oh yeah, totally. Like, how's the day going? Like, I'm sitting here having a massive meal, and you're waiting on me.
You know, I've been doing this research about Bacon's Rebellion, and condescension was a big part of, like, the Virginia gentleman's sort of repertoire of skills, because they needed the white people there to think that, oh yeah, I'm sort of like them, right? Because
Right.
they have that, like, we have whiteness together, right? So I'm going to
yeah.
condescend to these. Yeah.
That's really interesting. All right, we will take Brendan. Go ahead. I'm gonna just take a final call.
One last Bloomberg roast in.
Yeah, get one last Bloomberg shot in. I'm sorry. I know how I get addicted to these things sometimes, but there is just something hysterical about him politely explaining what is and isn't in the NDA that just kills me.
Oh, it doesn't mean you have to stop talking for the rest of your life.
Oh, no, don't worry. It's not like a permanent gag order. It's just the absolutely disgusting thing that I said.
I mean,
you
you
repeat
can
it under
still talk
threat
to
of
your
death.
You can still talk to your family.
Yeah. Everybody says like, oh, you can't go to a baseball game. Sorry. Yes, Brendan, please just make your point. No, I thought you've been.
No,
having this-
his concept of an NDA too is just so ridiculous that, like, they don't want to talk about this. Like, no, you gave them a ton of money and you're gonna kill them if they do.
Yeah, that's why they have. That's why you have to make.
Well,
them
she
sign it.
doesn't want to talk about it either because, frankly, my comment was, oh my God, Amber used to be a fantastic piece of ass. Not after she's pregnant, so that could be embarrassing.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't want to say that myself, but that could be embarrassing for her. So, it's really a win-win for everybody.
They don't want to talk about it. So to be good guys, we give them lots of money to never ever talk about it. It's being pro-worker.
That's right. That's one of my pro-worker policies. Eat your heart out, Bernie Sanders. You're calling from a 516 area code with the final call of the day. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Oh, I'm